LangChain has a great ecosystem. I've talked about it in one of the previous videos. In this video, what I'm going to do is help solve a significant challenge around prompting. Essentially, if you think about the responsibility or the work that we do with AI or necessarily LLMs is, we prompt. And one of the challenges in prompting is it's really iterative. You don't know what's going to succeed. And there's always an evaluation driven development cycle that's happening. What the guys at LangChain has done is they have released an experimental library called Promptim, which can help you do prompt optimization. Let's talk about it. Now, Promptim has some dependencies and I'm going to go over that shortly. But basically what it does is it automates the process of improving the prompts on certain tasks. So you provide some sort of a data set, some sort of an initial prompt, and you can have either a human feedback or a custom evaluation or use something from the ecosystem to evaluate it. And then essentially run an optimization loop. This might sound very similar to hyperparameter tuning, and it's kind of similar in that sense. So what we need to do here is just install Promptim and get started with it. There are certain dependencies, but let's dive in. So in terms of feature set, what they do is that they talk about what Promptim is and why should you do prompt optimization. Essentially save time, get to a better state of prompt, and kind of also enable a lot of model swapping. Because what happens is different models behave differently in terms of prompting strategies, as well as prompts are not interchangeable, which is interoperable, sorry. So if you have tried a prompt with Llama, the same prompt will not give you the same result with, let's say, the likes of ChatGPT. All right, so prompts are not interchangeable. That is something we have to live with. And basically, how does prompting work? It's a sequence of flow. So the algorithm is you specify a LangSmith dataset, and I'll show you what LangSmith is if you're not familiar with it. And you can specify train, dev, test dataset, and you run the initial prompt over the dev and it kind of iterates. There are a set of meta prompts here. The goal of it is to kind of iterate over it and manage the configurations in terms of what evaluators you have used and all of that. But eventually what will happen is if the matrices show some improvement, then the updated prompt is written, and if there's no improvement, then they kind of keep on iterating it, and this is repeated. So it is definitely has some limitations, and you should have some sort of a prompt hub to store prompts, etc. You also need to have human in the loop. There are other libraries like this, which is DSPY, and DSPY I'm gonna go and look at it differently. Like DSPY approaches the whole prompt ecosystem completely differently. So I'm going to talk about it sometime later, but essentially this is what Promptim does. Not very complicated, and it's a relatively straightforward library. Let's go to the Git and look at how it works. So this is very straightforward. So you have some sort of optimization loop running in, and it runs. Okay, it's a video. I don't want to play a video right now, but you can look over it and understand. So it kind of has a system prompt. It has the kind of goals to optimize, like what are the things that I'm trying to optimize, like essentially prompt, some sort of a optimizer kind, whether it is a user or a system, and the data set. So install Promptim. It needs a LangSmith API key or an Anthropic API key, and basically you get started with this. You define a task. If you have used something like HyperOpt or Optuna, this might look again similar. Those are hyperparameter tuning libraries. So for instance, the task is my tweet task, prompt is some sort of a standard prompt, and then there's a data set, and then there's a description. Now this might, if this looks unfamiliar, it's very relevant to the LangSmith tool, and I'll just quickly show what LangSmith is. So I've just set up some LangSmith sample runs, and what I have is there's a playground. I did some runs. So this is a runnable sequence. There was a prompt template, there was an OpenAI hit, and then there was a run, there was some sort of a response, right? So all of the overall latency is calculated here. The data set is looked at, the number of tokens consumed. Kind of is an observability platform if you think about it from an overall perspective. Has a lot of parameters that you can look at, evaluate. So if you have done observability before using either ML flow or something like that, this would sound very, very similar. But why is this needed is because Langsmith has the tools to able to kind of serve as a backend to Promptim. So what it is doing, it hosts the datasets and experiments. You can have a dashboard, like you can even see what prompts are working well. And then there's another set, something like a prompt hub, where you can store the different prompts. So all of these combined, Promptim is able to just use it and run it through it. Evaluators, you can define your custom evaluators, or you can use what they have out of the box, and pretty much run a training loop. And this is what does the kind of optimization cycle around it. And that's pretty much it. You can have human labels, you can have human in the loop, but essentially what you end up with is a kind of an optimized prompt that you can use further. All right, so that's pretty much what Promptim does. And if you have liked this video, smash the subscribe button, put in a comment if you want to see Promptim live in action, because it'll require a little bit of setup and I don't have it. So yeah, keep watching. If you want to learn more about AI software architecture, please subscribe. Until next video, bye bye.